What's going on, everybody? My name is Travis and it's so good to see you all again. So in this video I thought I'd put together 10 common traits that highly sensitive people typically have, because quite often people might be wondering, am I highly sensitive, am I not? Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But I just want to clarify that these traits are very commonly experienced by highly sensitive people, and if you can relate to some or all of these traits, then who knows, perhaps you are a highly sensitive person as well. So I really wanted to do this just to kind of create awareness and clarity for those who might be interested. Now before we get into that, I just want to say there is also a test designed by Dr. Aaron. Now Dr. Elaine Aaron was the pioneer of the research into highly sensitive people, and she found that there's between 15 and 20% of the population have this trait. And basically a highly sensitive person is someone who has a nervous system and a mind that is deeply processing to external stimuli. So long story short is basically we are very aware of our surroundings and quite often can feel overwhelmed because of the nature of the modern world. But she designed a test, which I have a link to in the description below, that is truly able to give you insight into whether or not you are a highly sensitive person. So if you watch this video and you can relate to the traits, please go ahead and click on the link and take the test to get a bit more insight into yourself. We've also got a very exciting announcement as well. Just before we get into it, we've designed at Empowered Sensitivity Coaching, we've designed a 6-week program specifically for highly sensitive people to not only understand the trait of high sensitivity, but to really get the most out of the gifts that we all have. And when I say get the most of it, what I mean is to help all highly sensitive people to live a truly fulfilled life, not just for themselves, but so that we can use the gifts of sensitivity to go out and help others, because we naturally got the empathy and the ability to be able to connect with people in that way. And this is our second round of beta testing. We've already done one round and we had so much fun, and the great news and the opportunity for you guys is because this program is still in beta test mode, that means you get a huge discount off what the program would normally cost. You pay less than 10% of the fees, and you basically just get feedback, but you get access to the entire program and all the tools, the techniques, the strategies and the insights that you need to really help move your life in the direction that you want it to go and to live a life that is super duper fulfilling. So again, if you're interested in that, please, there's a description below, a link in the description below. Please have a look into that for more information. But without further ado, let's get into the 10 common traits that all highly sensitive people share. Alright, so trait number 1. Highly sensitive people tend to, at all costs, avoid violent and horror movies. And the reason for that is because our minds are so empathetic. Seeing that imagery can be deeply distressing to a highly sensitive person. And you must think when you look at things, especially if they are very graphic in nature, highly sensitive people tend to be both emotionally and physically hurt by seeing that. So at all costs, a highly sensitive person will really avoid anything that is graphic or violent or horror related movies or shows. So if you're highly sensitive, then you might have that trait as well. The second trait that highly sensitive people typically have is that we really need more time alone. And it's not because we don't like human beings, it's because highly sensitive people are very much enjoy connecting and being with other humans. It's just that because our minds and our nervous system are so aware of our environments and all the subtleties in them, it can be a lot, especially as I said, in the modern world that is so busy and there seems to be so much going on. It can be absolutely exhausting just going through a normal day. So to be able to counteract that, a lot of highly sensitive people tend to withdraw into their bedrooms or into a quiet place for a couple of hours at a time to kind of slow down and to process everything and just to kind of recover from it all. So again, if you find yourself doing that, again, perhaps you might have the trait of high sensitivity as well. The third trait that is pretty common and that is very popular with a lot of people is that highly sensitive people can be very easy to please and very low maintenance. we typically like to go with the flow and to do what makes other people happy. By doing that, we ourselves get a whole lot of joy and happiness from that as well. So again, if you get told that people love being with you or love hanging out with you, or you're so agreeable, that type of thing, again, that could be a very, very strong indicator that you might be a highly sensitive person. Fourth very common trait is that highly sensitive people are typically not good at making decisions on the spot. And the reason for that is, as we said, with all the subtleties that we tend to pick up on, we tend to weigh things up in very, very high amounts of detail. We look at the pros and the cons and how this might affect someone else and how this might affect us and what effects this could have in the future. And so it can be very difficult to decide what I want for lunch in some cases, right? But especially if we're making big decisions that could be financially motivated or could have an impact on people that we really care about. And that's because we really need to weigh up every single little thing before making this decision. So if you know someone who is highly sensitive, please just be patient, allow them to go through the process, because we really hate being pushed into that. Not that anyone likes being pushed, absolutely. But yeah, we're really just going through processing every single thing that we have in our minds and all the little bits of information that we've picked up along the way. The sixth common trait is that highly sensitive people tend to feel things more deeply. Because we have a lot of information coming in and affecting our nervous system and all these subtleties, it can be very easy for us to notice a subtle shift in someone's mood or someone's emotion, or a subtle shift in the energy of a room, especially if there's a lot of people around. And by doing that, and especially if we have an interaction with someone, we tend to pick up and feel things very, very deeply. And sometimes these things can be with us for days or weeks, which can be really, really great, especially if we've had a great experience and we're feeling on top of the world. We really love it. But if we've been stressed or anxious or worried or sad, this can also stay with us and have a heavy burden on us as well. So if you notice that you feel things really, really deep, or if you cry quite commonly during movies as an example, again, that could be an indicator that you might be a highly sensitive person. The seventh common trait that highly sensitive people typically have is that we really, really struggle with conflict and criticism. And again, it's having that direct confrontation with someone really, really sends a jar through our nervous system and almost makes us feel frazzled. And it's something that takes a lot of effort to kind of learn how to negotiate. So again, if you know someone who is highly sensitive and you really want to give criticism or feedback, do it in a way that is kind and constructive. And again, at all costs, please try to avoid being directly aggressive with highly sensitive people, because, as I said, it can be something that has really kind of jolts or shocks our nervous systems as well, especially if we haven't learned how to deal with that or how to kind of act in those situations. And if you find for yourself that when someone is quite confrontational with you and you tend to kind of get all defensive and almost withdraw within yourself, or want to escape the situation, or get very, very uncomfortable if there's conflict going on around you, even if you're not a part of it, those are really, really strong indicators that you yourself might be highly sensitive as well. The eighth trait that is super common is a really wonderful thing, and that is that highly sensitive people tend to have such a rich, complex inner world. And that's why so many people with this trait are so naturally drawn to the arts, or to music, or to writing or acting or photography, or anything with a creative outlet. Highly sensitive people are very, very creative, and that's because, as I said, the rich inner world that we experience is a wonderful, wonderful place. And if you find yourself naturally wanting to express yourself in a creative way, again, it could be a very good indicator that you yourself might be a highly sensitive person. And if you think back to your childhood, if you had a rich imagination where you could spend hours just playing by yourself, just entertaining yourself, just doing all sorts of things, again, that's such a strong indication that you are a highly sensitive person. Now, we all have the ability to have a good imagination, but for highly sensitive people, it is so rich and it's such alive inside of ourselves. And that's just a beautiful thing about the gifts of sensitivity that we have. The ninth common trait is that very, very often highly sensitive people get misunderstood. You might be aware of this yourself. You might get told that you need to be tougher or have a thicker skin, or that you're too shy or too sensitive. Other people might tell you these things, and that's not because they're bad people. It's because you know, if you don't have the trait of high sensitivity, you don't understand. And because it's not something that is generally known, especially in Western cultures, the trait of high sensitivity, it can just be people trying to offer assistance. However, if you're like me and you've been on the receiving end of those things quite a lot, then it can be quite overwhelming and it can be quite frustrating. So because a lot of people, as I said, don't have this trait, they don't typically understand what you might be going through, and so you can be mislabeled as too shy, too sensitive, you need to have a thicker skin. All those are not true, you just have a very different way of processing the world around you, and that's all it is. The 10th and final thing that I really want to share with you guys is that highly sensitive people typically keep a much smaller circle of friends, but the connection that they have with each of the individuals is much deeper. Highly sensitive people truly are empathetic, and we really love being able to make people feel happy and comfortable and confident in any situation. And we typically are very, very aware of what people might be feeling, and especially if there's a shift in their mood. And we also are very aware of what needs to be done in order to help that individual. Now, the reason why we keep such a small circle is because this can be really, really exhausting. It can be very tiring, and you know, we really love being able to do that, but we also need to withdraw. And if there's too many people that need our attention, this can completely overwhelm us as well. So those are some very, very common traits that highly sensitive people have, and of course there's much, much more, and you might relate to all of these, you might relate to some of these, or you might relate to none of these. That doesn't mean that you are or not a highly sensitive person. As I said, there is a test that Dr. Aaron has devised that I have a link in the description below, so if you want to really kind of find out for yourself where you sit on this, please take the test as well. But guys, look, I really appreciate you watching this video. I really love producing this stuff for you, so please like and subscribe to our channel. We're young, we're growing, but we want to be more regular and produce content for highly sensitive people as well. If you're new to our channel, please check out our other videos. We have a lot of content designed specifically for you to help you get through day-to-day life, things from emotions to confidence and beliefs, how to deal with overwhelm, all sorts of useful things. So please have a look at those videos as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching and for being with me today, and I really, really look forward to seeing you all on the next one.